All right. And so tonight we are going to be going through the Chicago Bears schedule for the 2025. Cut that. No, great start. Great
26.
Bro,
start.
what?
I mean, it's so last year for me. Um, and so tonight we're going to go through the Chicago Bears 2026-27 schedule to give our predictions for a win, loss, or tie each and every single week. So if you've been following along in this series, we've already done the Green Bay Packers as well as the Minnesota Vikings. So obviously, the division matchups, they play each other twice. So we will reveal in this episode what we had picked in prior episodes. But if you want to get a full rundown on where we landed with the Packers and the Vikings, make sure to check out those episodes. So tonight, we're going to start with the Chicago Bears here. The Bears, who finished in first place of the NFC North last year, they won their division. They were the 2 seed in the playoffs. They beat the Green Bay Packers and come from behind fashion in Wild Card Weekend before ultimately dropping a home game to the Los Angeles Rams in the divisional round in a game that I believe went to overtime. So the Chicago Bears took a step in the right direction last year. Caleb Williams proving why he was the number 1 overall pick. So it'll be interesting to see how Caleb steps into the NFL in year 3. But for Chicago, they will start on the road in Carolina. Pat, you are a former resident of the Carolinas. So I'm going to start with you here tonight. Bears at the Panthers week 1. Who do you like in this matchup?
Well, technically, I still have a North Carolina license, which I found out the other night I should not still have. So, not voting for. Bears, Panthers. I mean, it's tough to pick against the Panthers. You know, a lot of love in my heart for the Carolina Panthers. They're a pretty dynamic team. I think a lot of people now have a lot of faith in Bryce Young. But I do feel as though the Panthers are still kind of a middling team. So I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears here.
All right, Pat gets the Bears off to 1-0 start. Mason, I'll go over to you. The Chicago Bears at the Carolina Panthers week 1. Who do you like?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears here. I think they're a pretty strong team coming into this year. I don't really think they had any key losses, but I'm also looking a little bit. Don't really see too many big name acquisitions. But listen, what they had put together last year was good enough to win first in the NFC North. So we'll see how the schedule plays out if they're going to repeat as champions of the North. But I have them in week 1 starting off with a W against the Panthers. Feel like the Panthers were just kind of like an average team last year that played in a really bad division. Bryce Young's hit or miss. He could torch the Bears for 500 yards or he could throw for 120. So anything's possible, but I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right. I'm going to join you in that pick. I like Chicago week 1. I think we talk about additions and subtractions. They did move on from DJ Moore this offseason. They had a little bit of a crowded wide receiver room last year. They didn't really, in my opinion, have a true standout number 1. I think Rome Odunze is clearly the guy that they feel as though can be the number 1. I just think it was like kind of any given week, any receiver might step up and take and assume that role. But they moved him to Buffalo for a 2nd-round pick. So they clearly are, confident in the guys that they have in that wide receiver room. And I do think it's a pretty talented group. So, but with that being said, yeah, I just think the Chicago Bears are a playoff caliber team this year. Not that they might have Team of Destiny written all over them. I feel like last year was such a fun ride for the Bears, and I felt really good for the Bears fans, finally having something that they could be proud of. And there's going to be a lot of expectations this year. So I think Caleb Williams is somebody who's going to live up to that. And so, just if you go across the board with the Panthers Bears, I think the Bears are better in pretty much every category. So that is where my pick lands. So we all have the Chicago Bears starting off 1-0. Now in week 2, this is a matchup that Mason and I have already picked. They are hosting the Minnesota Vikings for their home opener in week 2. We both have the Bears picking up victories in those matchups. So Pat, I'll go over to you. The Bears host the Vikings week 2. Who do you like?
Well, I got to be honest here, Matt. I don't have a whole lot of faith in 9 to get it done. I don't even know. I mean, I'm drawing a blank on will 9 be starting or is what?
It's possible.
Is Carson
It's
Wentz
either
still
him or
there?
Kyler.
Oh, Kyler. Dude, I
Murray.
forgot about Kyler. Okay, well, I maybe have less faith in Kyler Murray than I do in 9. So I'm going to take the Bears pretty easily here. I just think the Vikings offense this year in general is just going to struggle to get it off the ground. I feel like they had a really, really strong offense 3 or 4 years ago. Obviously, Jay Jetta's at kind of the peak of his time in Minnesota, but I just think the Vikings this year are going to be kind of a bottom feeder team, really struggling to get it done. And I agree. I think the Bears, with everything you said, I think the Bears still maintain a lot of their core. I think they're going to be strong. They have Scotty Miller in the wide receiver room,
Fan favorite.
a fan favorite, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer ?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's going to be a good year for the Bears.
All right, so clean sweep. Kyle also had the Bears in that matchup, so we all have Chicago jumping out to a 2-0 start. This is where it gets fun. Mason and Pat are Philadelphia Eagles fans. The Bears will host the Eagles in Week 3. Now, these two teams did play last season in Philadelphia on Black Friday, in which the Bears went on the road and picked up a win. So the Eagles looking for some early season revenge here. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to pick the Chicago Bears. I think between these two teams, again, I think this is going to be a very good matchup between the two. I would take Caleb Williams over Jalen Hurts if I'm going quarterback versus quarterback here. I just believe in Caleb's talent. I think offensively, I would probably lead towards the Bears, but then definitely lead toward the Eagles on the defense side of the ball. But Chicago has a pretty solid unit there as well. I think this is, like I said, tight matchup. Maybe comes down to the final drive. I think this would be a really fun game to watch. But I'm going to trust in Chicago's quarterback just a little bit more here. I'm going to go with the Bears. Pat, I'll go over to you, Philadelphia Eagles fan. They are playing the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Who do you like?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a homer, so I have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles here. I mean, it just feels natural. I know there's a lot of question marks surrounding the Eagles this year, what with the departure of A.J. Brown. But, you've also got the acquisition or the draft of Mekhi Lemon, who I think is going to be a stud. So I think the Eagles, week 1 and 2, they're probably going to be sorting some things out. But they're typically a team that I feel like once they have some new life or a new motto behind the team or whatever, I think, offloading A.J. Brown is really going to open this team up to wanting to perform early as opposed to some of the things we've seen in the last couple seasons. So I'm going to take the Birds. I also think, like, weirdly, Nick Sirianni is a great coach for kind of rivalry-ish games or returning to games against opponents that have beat them in the past. You saw it, oftentimes in Philadelphia over the last few years. So I think he's going to go in with kind of vengeance on his shoulder. And I think the Eagles offense is very strong, going to give Caleb Williams some trouble.
All right, Mason, over to you.
So I feel like whenever we do these schedule predictions, I'm always pretty down as an Eagles fan, and normally I like to play it safe and emotionally hedge. I am going to do that in this situation. I'm going to go with the Bears. I think Monday night at home is a pretty big advantage for them. And I think at this point in the year, the Eagles are still trying to figure things out. New offensive coordinator. We have no idea what their offense is going to look like. Like Pat talked about a little bit, with the departure of A.J. Brown, who knows, could open things up. This team could come out firing all cylinders, spreading the ball around. But I'm just going to guess that's not going to happen. I just think losing an offensive weapon like that and learning a whole new system is going to be a little bumpy to start. And I think the Bears are just going to be probably the better team. If this game was later in the year, I might think a little bit differently. But I think the Bears are probably going to get off to a hotter start than the Eagles. And I'm going to go with them at home in week 3.
All right. So through 3 weeks of the NFL season, I have the Bears 3-0. Mason has the Bears 3-0. And Pat has them at 2-1. So winning records out of the jump. They get a third straight home game. So they have played 3 home games in the first month of the season, which is an interesting twist. You would kind of, if you're a Bears fan, you'd probably hope for games later in the year at home to have the home field advantage against some teams in the cold. But alas, they don't have that. So week 4, they host the New York Jets and Geno Smith. Mason, I'll start with you here. Bears, Jets. Who do you like?
Oh, man. It's hard to like the Jets unless you're Cooper and you talk about some advanced statistics that maybe the Jets are going to turn around. But I'm not going to buy into that. So I'm going to go with the Bears. Nice little homestand for them here. Playing pretty comfortable. And I don't think it's going to take much to beat the Jets, to be honest.
Fair enough. I'm going to follow suit with you. I like the Bears in this matchup. Every advantage is in favor of Chicago. So barring early season injury by Caleb Williams, I like the Bears. Pat, go to you. Jets.
Well, As you guys know, the Jets are going to jet, and they are, constantly just in utter turmoil all the time. But Matt, may I implore you to revisit that cell in our spreadsheet because I will be taking the Jets, Jets
Wow.
in this
Okay.
matchup. At the end of the day, listen, the Jets are going to Jets, but the Bears are also going to Bears. And I feel like, you've played the last couple games at home. Maybe you're on a roll, right?
A little too comfortable.
If they go 3-0, like you guys are predicting them to, I think they're going to get a little too comfortable. And I think Geno Smith, if there's one thing he does well, he doesn't write back. And I think that Geno Smith is going to take it to the Bears here. I think the Bears are going to drop one before they go on the road for a couple games, lose a little bit of confidence, and I think the Bears are going to Bears. So I'm taking the Jets.
All right. So Pat has back-to-back losses for Chicago. We then go to week 5. This is a matchup we've already predicted. So this is their first matchup with the Packers. They go to Green Bay, Bears at Packers. I had the Bears winning. Mason had the Packers winning.
Okay, that's good actually, because I was actually nervous because I was like, I hope I didn't pick the Bears and they're now 5-0.
So,
Look at that ball
there you go.
knowledge.
You knew. So Pat, I will go back to you here. You have Chicago coming off back-to-back losses. They're 2-2. They go on the road against their biggest rival. Who do you like?
This one's tough. I think objectively the Bears are the better team. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the more stable core. But the Packers did manage to do a lot last year with kind of some really difficult situations. And so I think I'm going to pick the Packers. I think the fact that it's in Lambeau, you get that home field advantage. Say what you will, Philadelphia fans are diehard. We all know it. But I think that the Packers are maybe a top 3 fan base in the NFL. Wisconsinites just bleed and die for the Green Bay Packers. So I'm just going to take the home field advantage there. I think that the Packers usually start pretty hot in the beginning, and then once they get riddled with injuries, they start slowing down. But I'll take the Pack to take this matchup, but I don't know that I'll be taking them down the line in Week 16.
All right. So quick check-in here. I have the Bears at 5-0. Mason has them at 4-1. Pat has them at 2-3 after a 2-0 start. We then stay on the road. They head to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. Mason, I'll start with you here. Falcons hosting the Chicago Bears. Who do you like?
Who do I like in this? I just don't know what to expect out of the Falcons year to year. They seem to have some nice pieces, but can never really get together. They're also a team that can really win or lose every game, it seems like, going year to year. But I think I'm going to go with the Bears. I just trust the Bears more. Even in Atlanta, I just feel like top to bottom, they're a better team. The Falcons also, I don't really know what their quarterback situation is because Penix is hurt, but I guess he's expected to be back.
It's Penix. I think Penix will be healthy and ready to go, but it's a matter of do they go with him or do they go with Tua?
Yeah, it was Tua, right? And I think we're going to go with the same mentality that we did with the Vikings. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. Could be some turmoil there. So I'm just going to go with the Bears as just the safer, more trustworthy team, and I'll take them to win.
All right, Mason's going with the Bears. Pat, I'll go to you here. You have 3 straight losses for Chicago on the road and in Atlanta. Who do you like?
I'm going to take the Bears here. I think this is where they get a little bit of the magic back. To me, the Falcons are just, you talk about the Vikings being bad, but I do think the Falcons are going to be significantly bad this year. Tua as one of maybe your starting options. Like, I know he's a baller. I know he plays really well, but like the injury, he could go down with injury pretty much any time, which is a real shame. But I don't see the Falcons as being a super explosive or competitive team. In fact, that whole division I would categorize the same way. But I'm going to take the Bears here. I think just on paper, they're the better team.
All right. A clean sweep for Chicago. So now week 7, they host the New England Patriots in a matchup. Drake May, Caleb Williams, same draft class. Going to be a lot of storylines going there. I have the Bears starting 6-0. heading into this game in New England, and I'm going to have them picking up another victory. I think a
Nice.
7-0 start for the Chicago Bears, a clean touchdown and extra point. I think
It
this
does
is going
look
to be
like a
another.
short. Is it a short?
This is on Thursday Night Football, and it's
Interesting.
in Chicago.
Nice.
So that typically home team has the advantage in a Thursday night matchup.
Yeah, that's true.
I like these two teams. I think they're both going to be really solid teams. Likely both going to make the playoffs, especially with the way I have Chicago running right now. But at the end of the day, I just think I like the Bears a little bit more. I never bought into the Patriots last year. I truly think they had one of the most fraudulent runs to the Super Bowl of all time. And I think if Bo Nix's ankle wasn't broken, the Broncos would have beaten New England on that fateful Sunday. Regardless, though, Bears, Patriots, I just slightly lean towards the Bears. Short week plus being home is what's gonna do it for me there. So I have the Bears starting 7-0. Mason, I'll throw it over to you. Bears, Patriots in the Windy City.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little preview of the Patriots prediction. I'm pretty much going to pick the Patriots to lose any game against a decent team on their schedule, just based on last year. And the Bears are a pretty decent team. So we'll get started here with the Patriots schedule and hand them a fat L right here. Yeah, I think I agree. All last year, I was picking against the Patriots. They just somehow kept winning. Thank God they finally lost in the Super Bowl. And I think they're just due for a regression. I mean, they definitely had some games against tougher opponents last year, and they took care of business. But 90% of them were against scrubs, and I think they're going to have a tougher schedule this year, have some Super Bowl hangover, and they're going to struggle. So I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right, Pat, over to you. I know you're not a big Drake May guy for a lot of reasons. It's well documented on this program.
Well documented.
Well documented. Go back and listen. Bears, Patriots. Why are you picking the Bears?
I'm glad you already filled in my spot because I'm definitely picking the Bears. I think that the Patriots had the easiest, most cupcake schedule ever, and they were exposed in the Super Bowl, and everybody saw them for what they really are. I think that A.J. Brown now being on the team, I think a lot of people think it's going to spark some good things in New England. I think that it's going to be ultimately maybe a little bit of a disruption. Obviously, that team's still going to need to learn each other and learn themselves. No, there's no way I can pick the Patriots this year, not against a serviceable team. And Matt, I'm trying to put together a parlay to see how much you would win for the Bears going 7-0 in their matchups. I will say for them to win their first 5 games, you can get that at plus 900 right now, which actually feels pretty good.
That does feel pretty good.
So yeah, but no, there is no way. Same thing with me. There's no way. I might pick the Patriots to go 0-17 this year.
Yeah, we figured.
Might be the reality. So.
All right. So through 7 weeks, I have the Bears at 7-0. Mason has them at 6-1. Pat, you have them at 4-3. So we then head to week 8 in Seattle on Monday Night Football. A second of 3 straight primetime games for the Bears. Mason, I'll start with you here. Bears at Seahawks. Who do you like?
3 straight. Yeah, the Bears are due for a loss at this point, and I think Seattle is going to be a strong team, and the home field advantage is going to play into their favor here for the Seahawks. Yeah, I mean, I think the Seahawks are probably just the better team. The defense is still going to be suffocating. Offense looked great last year. I don't really see them regressing at all. I think the Bears can definitely run with them. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think at home definitely plays in the Seahawks' favor a little bit later in the season. Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Seahawks here.
All right. Pat, I'll go to you here. Bears at Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Who do you like?
I'm going to take the Seahawks in this matchup. I think, they're a very strong team. They obviously showed that last season. I think Sam Darnold's just going to continue with that momentum and push forward. I think the coaching core is very, very strong. And, the Bears obviously have a great coaching core too. But I do think the Seahawks are going to be riding a level of confidence going into this season that even if they have the Super Bowl hangover, which we talk about a lot, I think they'll have stuff figured out by week 8. And again, Seattle, we mentioned it with Lambeau. I mean, in Seattle is one of the harder stadiums to play in too. They made an earthquake happen one time. So Yeah, I think that Seattle's going to have this one. And we saw in the Super Bowl, I mean, that defense looked suffocating, partially because of Drake May and his bad play, but I think they're going to bring a similar. I think they have similar play styles, and I think it's going to be good for the Seahawks. So,
All right, cool. I'm going to go with Seattle as well. Snapping the undefeated streak for the Bears. Don't worry, Dolphins fans. There will not be a perfect season in Chicago. Just two
They were
juggernaut
getting nervous.
team. They were getting very nervous. I know all the Dolphins fans that are listening were sweating. So you guys are very welcome. But Seattle is going to be a damn good team again this year. Their identity is their defense, and I think that's the easiest thing to carry year over year. In Seattle, primetime game, I'm going to lean towards the home team. And at some point, the Bears do have to lose, right? So for me, it makes that a little bit easier. I'm going to go the Seahawks. So I'll have Seattle in a clean sweep here in week 8 for the Chicago Bears. Week 9, this ends a string of national games. This is on Sunday Night Football here in week 9. The Bears will host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before a week 10 bye. So, Pat, I'll start with you. Bucks, Bears, who do you like?
well, I'm pulling up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster to remind myself a little bit. But as long as I see
Mike
one
Evans.
man, as long as I see one man there, that man is Kenny Gainwell. No, I'm just kidding. Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield, and he always seems to win games that we don't think that he should win. I just think, going into a bye week, I know that it's a time of rest and relaxation and things like that. But in the same way that you have a Super Bowl hangover, I often feel that you have that the week before a bye. You're just looking forward to it. You're anticipating that time off. You're waiting for it. And that's really not a reason to pick them, but I'm going to pick the Bucs here in this game. I just think that what Baker Mayfield is able to do in tight games or in games where he's down is kind of a testament to how great of a player he is. It feels like every single year we're just talking about him leading some insane drives or leading some insane games against teams he's almost got no business to contend with. And so I'm going to take the Bucs in this one.
All right, Mason, I'll throw it over to you. Hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Sunday Night Football. Who do you like?
I think this being at home for the Bears is a pretty big advantage. This feels like a game to me. I mean, no, it's not like super late in the season, but maybe weather's a little ugly in Chicago, a little wind, a little rain, a little chilly, a little ugly game that the Buccaneers offense can't shine the way that it does at home in warmer or in a dome or something like that. And it feels like the Bears defense does just enough in this game to just kind of to slow them down, and the offense does enough to win. So I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right. I'm also going to go with Chicago here. Just two. I feel like Tampa is such a wild card every single season because you're just not really sure what you're going to get week to week. Baker could be an MVP, or he can look like a bottom, I'll call it top 20 guy towards the bottom of that list. Like, it's just some weeks are better than others for him. He does get up for big games, so a Sunday night game I could see Baker getting up for, but I just think the Bears have a better overall squad. I am curious to see how they transition in Tampa Bay post Mike Evans era. Chris Godwin should hopefully be healthy at this point, so he adds a layer to their offense that's not always there. Just a lot of question marks with Tampa, and a team that should have won their division last year handedly, and they were unable to. So I do have a lot of question marks, like I said, with the Bucs. Bears feel like a more sure thing. So I'm going to go with Chicago to round out in a sense, the first half of the Bears schedule. So I have Chicago at, 8-1? Yeah, I have the Bears at 8-1.
Mm-hmm.
Mason, you have them at 7-2. And Pat, you have them at 4-5. So stark difference in opinion.
Quite a spectrum here.
Mm-hmm. So I like the Bears. Pat does not. So the week 10 bye, and then week 11, the Bears will host the New Orleans Saints. I'll kick this one off here. I'm going to give this one to the Saints in an upset in Chicago. Despite the fact that they're coming off the bye, I think that this is a game where Chicago, might be feeling themselves a little bit. They had some, rest coming into this game. Might just take a little bit to get out of the gate again. Slow start. Saints take advantage and are able to overcome on the road. I don't have the Bears losing at home yet. I obviously had the one loss was in Seattle. They're probably going to lose a couple home games. This feels like a good pick here, and I'm pretty high on the Saints. I like what the Saints are building. I thought they had a strong season last year under Kellen Moore. I think they'll grow in year 2 under him. So I'm going to go with the Saints here. Mason, I'll throw it over to you. Saints at Bears. Who do you like?
Yes, I also think the Bears are due for a loss at home. I don't think I have them losing one at home. I'm pretty sure.
No, you have 2 road losses.
But I don't think this is the one. I do agree the Saints have some upside this year. Definitely some things to look forward to with a young quarterback and a core that's building. But I just think the Bears are better. And I think at home again, it just plays into their hand. I think the Bears have a huge home field advantage, especially later in the season at Soldier Field. The cold, the wind, everything. Saints are a dome team. Don't know how well they're going to perform. And I think the Bears keep on rolling at home. But in the near future, we might see them drop one, but not this week.
All right, Pat, I'll go over to you to kind of split the tie here. Saints and the Bears.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised that you took the Saints in this one. But I gotta respect it. I love an upset pick. I am gonna pick the Bears. I think the Saints are honestly a pretty fun team. Like, I think they did some fun stuff last year, and you were like, I'm really not expecting it. I just can't see them dropping. Like, the Bears feel like a much more dominant team. I know Kellen Moore is great. He's a great brain for football, but I just feel like the Bears are kind of going to dominate this game. Like, this might be a blowout of epic proportions. I'm picturing like a 41-7 game.
Damn.
Yeah, like I think this one is going to be like they'll pile it on. They're coming off the bye week. Everybody's hopefully healthy. Everybody's doing better. Like, I think this one's going to be bad.
All right, so Pat is going with the Bears. You have them getting back to 500 with the victory at 5-5. Mason and I are at 8-2. Week 12, Thanksgiving Day. They go on the road to face the Detroit Lions for the first time this season. Mason, I'll start with you here. Thanksgiving game, Lions, Bears. Who do you like?
I can't quite remember. I'm trying to figure out where I think the Bears are going to land. Could you remind? I think I had them beating the Vikings. Or wait, hold on. I'm trying to think of when I predicted the Packers and Vikings schedule. I had the Vikings losing twice, right? And the Packers.
Yes, you had the Bears beating the Vikings twice. You had them, spoilers, splitting with the Packers. And then we haven't faced the Lions quite yet. So you have them 3-1 in division.
I'm going to go with the Lions at home. I think they're probably also going to split with the Lions, and I'll take them to each win their respective home games. That game later in the year probably a little more important. Thanksgiving at home. The Lions probably have better odds of winning this game than the other one because they're not going to be as hurt later in the season. So we'll play that card again with Dan Campbell ball. Yeah, I think just in division, anything can happen. I think these teams probably end up splitting, barring any crazy injuries to either side. So I'll go with the Lions in this first matchup.
All right, Pat, I'll go to you. Lions hosting the Bears on Thanksgiving.
I think this one's going to be a good one, like a really great game. There's one thing I know about the Lions, though, man. They just score. That's what they do. And they just keep putting numbers up. So I'm going to go with the Lions in this matchup. I think the Bears have great opportunities to score too, but you just look at the offensive weapon of the Lions, and they just have so many players who play really well. And I just think they're going to take it away and give us a really great game for Thanksgiving. Like, this might be one of the best ones. But I got the Lions in this one.
All right, I'm going to agree. I'm going to go with Detroit. So we have a clean sweep here. I like Mason. I'm going to predict a split there in the division between those two teams to win at home. A little bit of a spoiler for later in the episode. But, yeah, I mean, just two evenly matched teams. I think the Lions probably need this game a little bit more, especially the way I have the Bears. I mean, the Bears might be the 1 seed at this point in the season where I have them projected. Lions probably somewhere in the middle of the pack, but fighting for a wild card spot. So this is a big game for them. And I feel like they always do ball out on Thanksgiving. They might not always win on Thanksgiving, but they always, I feel like, score a lot of points. And that usually bodes well for a team trying to win a football game. So I'm going to go with the Lions as well. That brings me to 8-3. Mason 8-3. Pat to 5-6. So week 13, they're back at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags were a playoff team last year. took the Bills to the brink, but were unable to defeat Josh Allen. I'll start here. I am going to go with the Chicago Bears. Shocker, right? I think this is another great matchup between pretty even teams. I think the Jags are going to be really good again this year. Their wide receiver core was underrated heading into the season, as we found out, and they had just so many guys contribute to the point where they're not going to let Travis Hunter play wide receiver. They're just going to commit him at corner because that group is so stacked. So I think this is going to be a phenomenal game here in Week 13. Might be like an underrated game. It's in a 1 o'clock time slot on the East Coast. And it might just be one of those games you're watching all day on Red Zone because might be a lot of points, a lot of action. So I'll go with Chicago there. And Mason, I will pass it over to you. Jaguars at the Bears.
All right. A couple of weeks ago, I gave a little teaser that I thought the Bears were going to drop a home game sometime soon. This is where I think they drop it. I like how the Jags match up here. The Jags had one of the best run defenses in the NFL last year, which I recall because I predicted them to beat the Bills, who were heavily reliant on the run. I think the Bears at times last year were a pretty run-heavy team. I know, obviously, Caleb Williams can ball out at any point, but they definitely had some heavy reliance on the run to get their offense established. I think the Jags stifle that a little bit, and they have enough to get it done against the Bears. They're going to end up dropping one at home at some point, I think. So I'm going to go with this one here. So I'm gonna take the Jags.
All right, good pick. It could be a coin flip game. That's how even these guys are. Pat, I'll go to you to split the tie. Bears, Jags.
I'm gonna take the Jags in this one, but I'm not gonna take them for a reason that I really love. I think the Jags are a great team. I think they showed that last year. I'm wondering if they'll be able to keep up the momentum next year. But I just have this nagging feeling that at this point in the season, especially going up against the Lions defense, I think that Caleb Williams may have to sit this game out. Like if there's any point of the season at which I think that Caleb Williams maybe has an injury that it requires him to sit a game out, I think this is the one. I just think like playing on Thanksgiving, everyone's going to be hungry. I think that, like, I don't know, those primetime games just always seem to result in, like, some big player's injury. And I hate to, like, pull the injury bug excuse, but I feel like this would be the one that he sits out. So that's why I'm picking the Jags in this one. Feels like such a dumb reason, but.
All right, that's fair.
I'm feeling it.
I mean, Matt predicted Justin Jefferson to be off the Vikings by this point in the season.
So yeah, you missed that. If you missed that,
okay.
In the Viking, well, I talked about it in both Packers and Vikings episodes. Go back and take a listen as to why I think Justin Jefferson will not be on the Vikings late in the season.
Oh, okay.
Great episodes. So week 14 on the road at the Miami Dolphins. Malik Willis leading the Dolphins to probably the first overall pick. Pat, I'll stick with you here to start. Can the Dolphins pull off an upset over the Bears? And at this point, you would probably sink their season. Or does Chicago get back on the right track?
No, Chicago gets back on the right track. I think that, the Dolphins, man, what a team. What a team. They might be up there with, like, I know they had, like, the almost undefeated season and whatever, and Dan Marino and everything. But it feels like nowadays they are almost equivalent to the Jets. So I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears here. I think this is a little bit of a tune-up game. It may be, as I predicted, Caleb Williams' return game. And I think they're going to hang a nice number on the Dolphins here and win the game handily.
All right, Mason, I'll go to you. Bears at the Dolphins.
Yeah, not much to add. I think this is a game that the starters can probably spend the night out in Miami, and the scrubs can roll up and beat the Dolphins. I do not think they're going to be very good this year, so I'll go with the Bears.
All right, easy sweep against the Dolphins. So, 1 second. All right, staying on the road, week 15, the Bears head to Buffalo to take on Josh Allen and the Bills. Who knows? This could be a Super Bowl matchup. You never know.
Awesome game. What is
this? Should be a fantastic game.
The 19th?
This is on
Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh.
So now we're late in the year. This is
week before Christmas.
It's gonna be cold. Well, Buffalo's got the dome now, so I guess is it a dome? Is the Bills' new stadium have a dome?
Is it?
I didn't even realize. Are they moving into the new stadium? I didn't realize.
Yeah,
that.
This is the first year of their new stadium. It does not have a fully enclosed roof, but it has a partial canopy that covers 64 to 65% of the seats.
So the fans will be.
Oh, so not the
they just
field.
won't have to shovel out. It'll
Yes.
be
Okay.
fine.
So this is going to be freezing in Buffalo. Bears should be okay with that. This is going to be a barn burner of a game. Mason, I'll start with you. Bears at Bills. Who do you like?
Man, I'm gonna go with the Bills at home. New stadium, big matchup, Saturday night football. Oh man, it's gonna be an awesome game. Hopefully, not a stinker. Not one of those games where you think it's gonna be awesome. But I'm gonna hope that it's awesome. I think two good teams, two pretty great teams, as long as they're healthy. But yeah, I'll just get the Bills the home field advantage. Probably a coin flip game. Probably like Bills favored -2.5 or something, based on depending on how the teams are going to be doing. But I'll go with the Bills here.
All right, Pat, I'll go to you. Bears at Bills. Who do you like?
I think the opposite of Mason. I think that this is going to be an excruciating watch. If there's anything I know about Saturday night football games, I think this one is going to be brutal. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring. I think both quarterbacks are not going to play up to what they think they're going to. But I'm still going to take Josh Allen and the Bills. As much as he's going to probably try and shoot himself in the foot in this game, I think that they have a slight advantage playing in the cold weather. Not to say that Chicago's not cold, but I don't know that it's Buffalo cold. So I'm going to take the Bills here. I think Josh Allen's experience is probably just going to barely carry him over the line in like a 9-3 game.
Is it like enclosed all the way around? Do you think wind will be as much of a factor?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably won't be.
But when yeah.
Is it Highmark Stadium? Did I get it right?
That's what it was. I don't know if they carried over the sponsorship.
I feel like cold is fine as long as it's not windy. It shouldn't affect too much, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Open air, you never know.
Yeah.
But okay. So you guys both went with the Bills. I'm going with the Bears. And reason being, like I said, the weather I don't think is going to have a major effect. I think it's kind of an even matchup in terms of the weather. The fact that it's on a Saturday, not a Sunday, is not a big deal to me. The fact that it's in Buffalo, also not a big deal to me. I know the Bears or the Bills fans always show out. I think this could be an awesome game. I think this could be like the Chiefs Rams game from like 10 years ago, where it was like 51-48. So, like, that's just the kind of offense you might see. I think Caleb Williams is the closest quarterback to Josh Allen in just terms of play style. Like, I just feel like they both play a very similar brand of quarterback. And I just think it's going to be freaking awesome. But I think that this is because we get into a trap where it's like, all right, the Bills are a great team. They're probably going to win every game when we're not doing their schedule. So it's easy to say, at the Bills, yeah, that's a Bills win. But then when we get to, the Bills schedule, it's probably going to go, well, they had to lose a game somewhere, right? And I feel like this is a very easy game to say on their calendar, big matchup, quality team, potential 1 seeds battling it out. And I think the Bears can overcome in a great win. So I'm going to stick with Chicago and pick up probably the biggest upset I think I've had on the schedule to this point for them and even across their division. So I'm going to go with the Bears. Week 16, they're back at home against the Packers. I have Green Bay. Mason has Chicago. Pat, what say you in this division matchup?
So I picked the Packers to win the first time they meet. But I think I'm going to agree with the split that Mason has, and I'm going to pick the Bears here at home. I think at this point in the season, the Packers are pretty beat up. I don't know that they'll be vying for a playoff spot, so they may just be protecting some players at this point. I just got to take the Bears here, especially you're not at Lambeau. You don't have that environment. The Bears fans are great too.
Is that Christmas?
Is it for Christmas?
It is on Christmas.
Christmas afternoon,
Christmas
1
Friday.
o'clock.
I gotta take the Bears. Oh, 1 o'clock. I still gotta take the Bears.
What is the
so many? Think about it this way: so many kids are getting Caleb Williams jerseys. Not that many are getting Jordan Love jerseys.
I feel like that's a good game to have at 1 o'clock. Bills Broncos at 4:30 and Rams Seahawks. All right, those are all freaking bangers. Never mind.
Yeah,
Christmas Day is going to be awesome. The NBA
slate.
has gotten screwed.
That is a good slate.
And then Christmas Eve, Texans Eagles. Man, that game's gonna end like 6-3.
That one is gonna be good. That
That's
one is gonna be
stinker.
good.
They're gonna play like 1940s football, just only runs.
It's gonna be,
Defense, hand the ball off. That's it.
Run, punt.
It is gonna be awesome, man.
All right. So 2 weeks left to go in the season. They then host the Detroit Lions. Mason and I both have the Bears in these matchups. So big games late in the season. Pat, you have the Bears at 7-8. Another loss likely ends their season. Do you have the Bears getting to 500 in week 17 against the Lions?
It's so tough to say.
You did pick the Lions the first matchup.
I did pick the Lions the first matchup. They are playing away this time. The Bears will be at home. By my prediction, they'll be playing for their playoff spot. And I unfortunately think the Bears are going to Bears. And I think the Lions are going to take this matchup. Wow. I think, like I said, the Lions just score. And I think that they win games late in the year that they need to win. And the Lions at this point might be fighting for survival as well. So I'm going to take the Lions. And I think it's going to be heartbreaking for Chicago fans.
All right, Pat, ending the Bears season a year after being the 2 seed.
Yep.
He has them not making the playoffs. Then we had the week 18 where I have the Vikings. Mason has the Bears. More splits. I think the Bears are resting guys at this point in the season. That's why I have them dropping a game to the Vikings. Otherwise, I think if it's a full tilt, they're trying to play for a seed. I think that they would pick up a win. But at this point, I think their seed's going to be locked in, and they're going to rest some guys. So Mason and I both have them at 12-5. Pat, final selection. Do the Bears get to 8-9, or do the Vikings and 9 right off their season?
I'm going to take the Bears to get to 8-9. I think even if the Bears are out of playoff contention and they're sitting their starters or whatever for this last matchup of the season, I still think that who the Bears have as their second options is better than 9 and who the Vikings have as their first options. So I have to pick the Bears here because I just truly think the Vikings are going to be abysmal this year. So sorry to say, Chicago fans, I have you going under 500.
All right. So that will conclude the Bears prediction. So Mason and I have them at 12-5, likely in the playoffs. Pat has them at 8-9.